Hello, everyone. Today is June 13th, 2024. This is the Kubernetes 36 meeting. So today we will go over 1.31 planning spreadsheet, and then we have a few things we want to discuss after that. Okay. Now, actually, before I move to here, today is actually the enhancement freeze date, June 13th. So let's see how we're doing with the items that we're tracking. We're targeting 1.31. The first one is recovering from resize failure. Is command here? Looks like command is not here. Okay. So I think command just started looking at this one. There's some discussions going on. Okay, just a moment. But I think we are staying in alpha, so I think we are fine in terms of the deadline. Okay, the next one, provision volume from cross namespace snapshot PVC. I think this one, Michelle, do we have Michelle here? All right, so yeah, I don't know what is the status of this one. I'll put no update here. Next one, CSI volume health. Do we have an update?
Yeah, the code is finished and waiting for review. Yeah.
Thank you. I will take a look. And next one is the change block tracking. Yeah, so this one we actually have some good news. We got the cap merged. So this is great. This team has been working on this for quite a long time. So now there are some follow-up questions. Maybe we can talk about that later after we are done with tracking. So basically, we want to know when we can do a CSI spec release.
Yeah, we've got a CSI meeting coming up next week. I moved it from Wednesday to Tuesday because of the holiday, but we can discuss it in that meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. And the next one, enable privileged containers from Windows to replace CSI proxy for Windows. Do we have an update on this? Do we have menu?
Not really. I think we were trying to see if there were other providers who might be interested in this capability. Last I checked, I don't think we have closed on that. Eddie, do you have any updates by any chance?
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so no updates. There's a Slack thread with Mauricio and some of the maintainers from Azure, and they're currently evaluating whether to support it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, we are also checking this. There is a possibility that we are also working on this.
So what would be the decision in that case, Xing? Would it be that it would continue to stay in alpha, or like I don't know what the plan was for this.
So what is the, okay, so we have sufficient interest to move to alpha. Is Mauricio here? Oh, Mauricio is here actually. Are you talking, Mauricio? If you are, then you are on mute. Cannot hear you.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey, can you hear me?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just joined, so I might have missed the question.
Oh, we were just trying to figure out what to do about the privileged container for Windows. I know there was an open thread that Eddie had started, and we were trying to resolve if there were other providers who might be interested in supporting this feature. So I don't think we closed on that.
Yes, so I reached out to Andy from Microsoft to see if he was interested on migrating the Azure Disk CSI driver, which also uses CSI proxy. And he mentioned that he has no plans for now. We also have another community maintained driver which uses Windows, which is the SMB CSI driver. So we can also try to migrate that one to use the library version of CSI proxy. But there are no plans to do that yet. And on the PDCSI driver, there are still things I would need to solve internally with the security team. Some concerns about privileged containers in Windows.
This is a general issue or which, I'm sorry, did not catch the security problem.
So this was related with some questions that they had about how we would deploy the daemon set, because
Oh,
in Windows there are different levels of privilege for a container. It's like different Windows usernames. So we were deciding if we would create a new Windows username with limited privileges versus using the ones that are already bundled in Kubernetes.
okay. This is from which group? From SIG security, from or also from which?
It's not external yet. It's something that I have to start with GK security.
Okay. It's very okay. All right. So we need to get those resolved. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like if it's security issue, we probably need to get that resolved before we moving it to beta. Right. Okay.
It's more of a concern
Okay.
rather than an issue, because
Okay.
privilege containers for Windows are already being used by like Azure Disk. So what it does is it deploys CSI proxy as a privileged container in a different I forget if it's pod or a sidecar container.
Okay.
So I think we know that it's already running. Privilege containers are already working. It's just more about how Google Cloud would like to introduce this with the PDCSI driver. Just some concerns about security.
Okay.
I don't think these are blockers though.
Okay.
So another way is to continue with the kept modifying its graduation criteria. I initially defined it as having two CSI drivers using the new version of the proxy for it to graduate. But
To beta?
yeah, well, the project is not part of Kubernetes because it's
Is this
an out of date.
actually, is this, you have a document, right? You have a document in,
I have a cap, yeah.
is that in CSI proxy or I actually do not remember. What is the document? Or is that I mean, where's your, is the cap submitted, but you're saying it's not merged or I actually
Right,
not remember.
it's not merged yet.
Okay. Okay, so how do we, I guess I was not quite sure so how do we proceed with this? Can we promote this to beta or do we still need to wait for more or what is I haven't not been following this before, so.
I think we can discuss that within our group, maybe
Mhm.
fewer people, the people are interested, we could modify the CAP graduation criteria to be just one CSI driver, and then it could just move to beta and GA. And
Sorry, why? I thought there were two. There was a AWS EBS driver, right? And then Google. Oh, you're saying Google side, you may not be able to use. I thought you have a driver already, isn't it? That implemented this one. There is a.
there is a
Yeah.
PR open, and we know that it was working when we implemented it.
Okay.
But it's not part of the PDCSI driver yet. The pull request is still open.
Oh, okay. So
I'll reach out
see
through Slack to
Okay.
the people that are interested, and we will discuss what to do next.
Okay.
Sounds good, Mauricio. Let us know.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Mm.
And okay, the next one, always on a reclaim policy. So Corey has a few PRs. Okay, is he here? Okay, looks like he's not on the call. So he updated the CSI host pass, that one got merged. I think we need to do another update before we cut the release because there were some patch releases of the sidecars. So yeah, but in terms of the enhancement freeze, the cap that was already merged earlier. So it should be fine for moving this one to beta. And next one is the volume attributes class.
Yep, so KEP was merged for beta. It's officially, enhancement is being tracked for 131. There's a few bugs, tests, metrics, and I think a code design that needs to be finalized. EBS is working on the tests and metrics over the next month. Michelle, if you have anything to add.
I'll see Michelle on the call. She may
Oh,
have.
okay, I told my hand up. Anyway, but we made it through the deadline. We'll make sure we make it through the next deadline. Thank you all.
Yeah, I see a lot of discussion about the quota. That seems to be the only thing that has not been finalized, right? The quota.
I believe so.
Okay.
As well as I think there was some confusion on how will this, if this will be enabled by default for beta. It seems like the answer is leading like no, and there will not be an intermediate beta stage before GA where.
Oh, yeah. So that part, yeah, because now I'm thinking about it, right? Because this one actually has APIs. We didn't really promote the APIs, right?
Yeah.
Or
No.
is that
Yeah, and there's a Slack chat and
I
API
guess
machine.
this one is a little different. It's just like oh yeah, this one actually we do have a new attributes class API. Okay. So so I see. Yeah, I do see that one as well. So but we have done this for example, CSI migration, we have like beta off by default, and then we move it to on by default. So
yeah,
so this
in
one
this
maybe, but okay. Do you know this beta? So this feature gate is on a few components, right? Are we
Yep.
saying it's going to be on by default of let's say controller, or Or are you saying everything will be off by default?
We're sorting that off now.
Okay.
Sorting that out now, it seems like we're leaning towards everything off by default to prevent
Okay.
any issues. And it seems like we're leaning towards the API itself will not be enabled by default before in a beta stage before GA, but I think that's being actively discussed on the SIG machinery API thread in the Kubernetes Slack.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw that this morning. It's yeah, definitely it's weird if API is off, but the rest of them are on.
Is there a concern of bugs or something?
I think it's just the new standard that there is no on by default for beta APIs as of I think KEP 3.1.6.1 or something. And
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you. Wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, and it does mean that, cloud providers like Elastic Kubernetes Service cannot, test this feature because they have everything that is default, stands. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. So thank you.
This is oh, okay.
So is there going to be like another stage where the beta features will be enabled by default in that case?
It's leaning towards no as of the thread, but I think it's up in the air whether there'll be a beta stage with feature gates on by default.
Interesting. I think that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a beta, but
Well, yeah, so KOps customers, for instance, in the AWS case, can still test this feature. So I think the point behind this is that the Kubernetes folks want purposeful, reach outs to customers to test the feature. But yeah, I would chime in your opinion on the Slack thread I just linked. And this is being sorted out for a few other APIs as well right now.
sounds good.
But the decision is still up in the air as to whether we're going to do that moving forward. Is that what did I hear that correctly?
The decision is up in the air of whether there will be a second beta stage where things are on by default. And I think that there is no explicit guidance that people can find right now on,
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, if they don't have a beta on default, on by default, then I think when everything on by default, that's when you see the bugs coming.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem, that everything's already GA.
Yeah, so hopefully.
I mean, the whole purpose of the beta is to get some background with actually using the feature in the field and fix bugs that are reported in the field. So if by default beta is off, I don't know how many customers would be interested in trying it. So
Yeah, then you have to wait on GA, and then you start to see a lot of problems.
Is there another qualifier that would set this apart from alpha then, if features aren't going to be enabled by default? I'm just trying to figure out if like what was the impetus for changing the beta behavior?
I think I'm not too sure. You'd have to look at the KEP that Connor linked. I believe it was so that there would be less breaking API changes for customers that use the defaults if like a certain API had to be rolled back, but I'm not entirely sure on the details. Yeah, there's the discussion is still ongoing, and there are the two clear camps of, we want more people to test the features in beta versus, hey, this, KEP 3.1.3.6 was merged for a reason. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I'll check that out.
Totally, thank you.
Well, then maybe they need to, once it moves to GA, maybe they just still need to allow people to flip back. I mean, GA on by default, and then they can actually disable it. Then that will allow people some time. They can roll back, because otherwise, having a lot of problems, right? So it's like we're adding a lot of mini state, sub-state. But
Yeah.
for GA, yeah,
Agreed.
because if once you are by default in GA, and if you cannot disable it, if there is any problem, then I think I get a lot of bugs.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea where the external provisioner, external resizer will still be off by default for a little. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. But
You can always roll back on a version if you have to, right?
Oh yeah, downgrade. That's also you can downgrade.
Yeah. It's not the best case scenario, but
Yeah, that's true.
and I believe we have to test the downgrade, upgrade, downgrade, rollback strategy before it gets into GA. Either way, so that will be tested.
Okay. Thanks. Next one is PD last phase transition time. So Yang is not here. Human is not here. So I think the cap is merged already. Cap. Yeah, no, it's already merged. Okay. Cap merged. And implementation, okay, PR is out. Okay, so I will check with Yang. I think this one should be fine because the change should be small. Maybe even the PR to fit the feature gate, maybe that one is even merged. So check. Next one is storage capacity scoring. So this one is in review. Both Yang and I have been reviewing this. Let's see, review in progress. Next one is word expansion for stateful set. This one we co-own with SIG apps. Is there any update?
Yeah, we had a presentation with SIG apps this week, but we didn't reach out to an agreement. We actually intend to make all the fields in volume clam templates mutable, but they seem to prefer the previous cap that's only change the storage field. Yeah, I think we need further discussion with them. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you for working on this. Next one, non-graceful no shutdown test. Yeah, so this one unfortunately is still the same. Test is still not fixed yet. The PR is still there. Next one is auto delete PVCs with stateful set, target 131. I'm actually not sure. Status. Does anyone know about this one? Matt is not here. Yeah, I don't know what's the status of this. Let's see.
I don't have an update on this one.
Okay. So we'll check with Matt. Today is the enhancement freeze. So if this is not merged, then okay, so we'll see. Next one is cozy over move to VMware Alpha 2. Yeah, so this one is still ongoing. So the team, so mainly Blaine and Matthews, they're working on this. Matthews is working on tests. Blaine is right now working on merging those repos into one. So and next one is CSS sidecars all in one. Are there any update about this?
Yes, so we are going to present later, if there's time.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Next one is funny populator. I don't think we started this one. So this is I believe it's probably going to be next release. And next one, okay. Oh, so the next two actually are done, right? Okay, done. Then CSM migration Portworx. Yeah, so I pinned Luis, and he said he's reaching out to their to his PM just to see if they can actually get this PR merged. So CAP is already merged. So what happens is whether to enable it by default for this one, they still need to verify to see if they can do it. So and then next one, remove dynamic provision support from host pass into plugin. So Calorie has a PR. But I think it does not have the, last time when I checked, it does not have the PR information. So it still needs to be updated. So yeah, so this one did not meet, I think, since today's deadline, so I don't think this one will get merged. And also, I also talked to Yang about this one. Another thing is we're not sure if this is used by anybody, so still not 100% sure whether we can remove it or not. So we will continue to review it, review the PR. So that's all we have in this spreadsheet. Going back here. Okay. So we have this issue, design reviews. Oh, Mauricio, Connor, you want to talk about this one? Sidecars all in one?
Sure. I can present my screen. I have some slides.
Oh, okay. I think we'll make you send.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we, Connor, Jay, Manu, Eddie, and me, we're working on a POC for the sidecar monorepo. And we're gonna talk about our work, our goals for the POC, and some results that we get from it. So first is that as a goal, we wanted to understand the effort needed to migrate all the sidecars, but with a minimal set of sidecars. So we would not use all of the sidecars in the POC, just a few ones, and we picked 3 ones from the control plane. And I'll talk about the setup later. And we also didn't pick a few sidecars like snapshot controller or sidecars in the node plane or in the worker nodes, because while adding them to the POC would help, they would not give us the additional signals that we would get from the sidecars that are already running the control plane. Okay, so we set up a repo from scratch, and we copied the source code of 3 sidecars, which were attacher, provisioner, and resizer. We modified their entry points so that they can all be initialized together from a single main Go file.
Hey, Marisha, I have one question. When you move those source code, do you use the like the subtree? What the command is that command you use or what?
We just copy it.
Oh, right now you just copied it.
Right, and that's a good question. If there is time, I will talk about that at the end of the slides. There is one slide about that.
Okay.
Okay. Oh yeah, and feel free to interrupt right away.
Yeah, the reason I was just saying is because we run into some problems on the cozy side when we did the, we basically use the subtree, right, use a command. But what happens is some of the contributors, they are no longer active in there, so there are CLA problems. We're still trying to get those resolved. I was just
Right.
if you run
Yes.
into those problems. So
yes, if there's time, I will talk about our plan for ongoing PRs going to the individual repos and how we would migrate them into the mono repo.
okay.
Okay. So continuing with the steps, we also included CSI libutils as part of the repo. And we are taking advantage of Go workspaces to use that copy instead of the one that would come in the vendor directory. And with all of that, we already have a binary. So we built a binary, and it's used in a Docker image. And finally, we set up a local copy of release tools that installs a custom deployment hostpath, where we replaced these 3 sidecars attached to operational resizer with that custom entry point, and then run the storage test suite to see that everything is working. Okay, so the next slides would go into detail about these steps. The first step is to copy the code. This is similar to just doing cp-r. And in the new repo, the source code is all under pkg. And we also have a directory for the mono repo entry point, which is cmd CSI sidecars, that would have its own main Go file. And also we have a copy of release tools. We're not using the one that comes upstream because we needed to make modifications in the POC so that it could build the monorepo binary successfully, and also could deploy the custom deployment of CSI hostpath. Then we already have entry points for all of the sidecars. There are what we did is renamed their main Go file so that it's prefixed. So in the monorepo, there is attacher underscore main provisioner underscore main. Well, it's provisioner underscore CSI provisioner. That's where the main file is. And same thing for resizer. And inside pkg, all of the sidecars have some code that is no longer useful for the monorepo removed, and that is the metadata files in Git, the vendor directory, release tools, Docker file, go mode, go some. All of those would be part of the monorepo, now no longer of the individual repo. So this is sort of addressing some part of the question that you had, Xing, because we are not using Git subtree.
Oh, but then how you need to maintain the
Right.
history, right? The Git history.
That's true, yes.
Right.
That is true. And that in future work, hopefully we, instead of doing a blind copy of all of the files, we import each commit into this directory for each sidecar.
I think if you use the Git subtree, that would work. The problem we run into is when you import those, you will have some CLA violations because it shows all the contributors, right? But some contributors, they're no longer active, so their CLA is no longer active. That's the problem we're getting. So that's why we have having problem merging them. We're actually trying to get
it.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a different strategy from the one that we might use, because we're not going to use Git subtree. We're going to create new commits in this new repo. But those commits would be the same ones that were introduced in the individual repos.
But how?
We will have the same problem about the CLA, I believe.
Okay, but I mean, basically you will still try to keep the old Git history, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It would be a rewritten commit, but it will still have some references to the original author and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, we have reached out to the CNCF help desk and try to get those resolved.
Okay. Yeah, let me know how it goes, because I think it's also going to be useful in this project.
Okay.
Okay, good. So next, there are references in the individual repos to packages inside it. And we had to update those so that they refer to the mono repo instead. So as an example, we had the package pkg attacher, and that package in the mono repo is in a different directory. So we replaced all of the references from sidecars, individual packages to the mono repo packages. Also, we made some changes in the main file of each CSI sidecar. So on the left, that's how the sidecar entry point looks like. And we made some changes so that the main function is prefixed. So it's attacher underscore main. And that means that there is no longer an entry point for the binary if we create a binary out of it. And also, Connor spent a lot of time trying to make sure that the flags that are set up in the sidecars also work in the mono repo. And that meant removing a lot of flags and redeclaring them in the new entry point. Okay, so with that, all of these files, attacher underscore main, resizer underscore main, all of these files are ready to be used by another entry point, which is main.go. And that file, it's initializing each main file from the corresponding sidecars inside a Go routine. This is part of a POC, and we just wanted to see them running. I think that we might change our strategy later about how we define where we define the boundary for a controller to crash. Right now, if a controller crashes, then that's limited to its Go routine. Yeah, this is still something that we need to define later. Then, as I mentioned, we copied the flags from the individual repos to this new main Go file. And there were some flags that are global, there were some flags that are per sidecar, so we prefixed those so that they don't conflict with each other. For example, timeout. We could have a provisioner timeout versus an attacher timeout, and those would be different ones. And with that, we can build our binary. So there are additional files that are needed to build the binary and the image in the end. So we also need a Docker file. We also need Go mode, Go work for Go workspaces. The Docker file is similar to all of the other sidecars. And we also made sure that during the build, Go workspaces is working fine by using CSI libutils. So we are sure that it's no longer picked from vendor. Instead, it's just using the one that is under this location, staging, which mimics what Kubernetes sets up. It has we have the same structure as the staging directory in the Kubernetes repo. And finally, there is a go build command to build that binary. Then with that, we have the binary. We still need to create a cluster out of it. And we have already lots of code to do that through CSI release tools. So the next plan was to modify it so that it could deploy a cluster, install CSI hostpath, but the copy of CSI hostpath would need to be updated so that it deploys our sidecar instead of the sidecars that we used as we're replacing as POC. And in the repo, we have a folder called deploy, which is deploying CSI hostpath with one container replacing all of the other 3 containers. And one addition that we did that's specific for our new binary is the introduction of these flag controllers, similar to Kube Controller Manager. And we are thinking about using this flag to initialize some controllers, just like what happens in Kube Controller Manager. And because we have 3 controllers right now, we just initialized 3. We have more controllers, or if we are initializing a different subset in the node plane, we would just update this flag. And then we have everything already set up. We just need to call release tools with the right arguments. So there were a few MBars that we needed to find out about their values and how they would be used by CSI release tools. And after making a few more changes in release tools, it deployed kind, it deployed CSI hostpath with that binary, and it also runs the external stretch test suite based on this flag CSI underscore tests. And there are 3 modes. There is sanity, parallel, and serial. And we run all of those. I think that we're not running all of the test suite because we are not deploying, or maybe we didn't do the setup of test driver correctly. But for the subset that we saw running, we saw that all of the tests were passing. And there are 2 programs that were run to get to this stage. So first one is a program that creates the repo from scratch. And it is a simple shell script file, and its logs are here if you're interested in what are the things that it's doing. And at the end, it's just building a binary. And the second one, once the repo is set up, is to run CSI release tools through a similar entry point that is used in all of the sidecars, which is proud .proud.sh. And if you're interested in the logs, you can also take a look at this file. Okay, so with that, we sort of knew what would be the roadblocks in terms of implementation for the repo, but there are still lots of things to discuss to see if this is feasible to do, like how we would handle vulnerabilities in the new mono repo and what will happen in the individual repos, and also additional discussions about feature management, where we have questions like if we start making a feature in a sidecar, what would that mean for the mono repo, and at what point would we start defining that features would only go in the mono repo and no longer in the individual repos. So that's another area to discuss. Similarly, for migration strategy, this is for CSI drivers and how they would start using the mono repo image in their deployments, and also how the support model would look like from the time we decide to make that switch. And after doing the risk analysis, after discussing some of the risks, we can decide on going for more POCs or proceeding with actual implementation. And for the implementation, there would be more docs, more discussions, like what would happen with commits that are ongoing to individual repos and how they would get migrated into the mono repo, and also how we would start the sidecar and how we would manage flags for all of the now nested controllers. And one area that I thought it would be interesting to discuss here is this one about keeping up with changes in the individual repos. So the question is that our setup script is importing the sidecars once. So how do we keep up with ongoing changes in the individual repos? So we have a few strategies. First is that commits would still go to the individual repos, and the devs would manually trigger a script to do a sync so that they import commits from the individual repos to the mono repo. And we can improve that by doing it periodically. And we have already identified that there are some commits that can't just be added to the mono repo because of how the commit was created, and it's the layout, the directory layout that happened at the time the commit was created. And this is an area where I think we will expand later. But our plan in the end is to sync every merge PR in the individual repo into the mono repo. And our goal is to ensure that contributions to the individual repos, at least for some time while we are defining the migration period and so on, that while these contributions are happening, that the authors are not aware of our changes. And to get there, we need a few actions we need to make a few changes in the individual repos entry points, so that when the commit is generated in the individual repo, it doesn't generate a merge conflict in the mono repo. That's an area that we still need to discuss. Okay, so yeah, thank you to all of the people that worked very hard on the sidecar project. This is not a one-person initiative. It had lots of contributions from AWS, from Alibaba Cloud, from Google too. So if there are any more questions or feedback, we can talk about that either in the design docs or in future meetings.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you very much.
I want to say great job on getting this to this stage, Mauricio, Connor, and Yinki. I think it's been great progress, and hopefully this will help in making a strong case for unifying the sidecars, and we can move forward on this.
Yeah. Great progress. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, yeah, that's all I had.
Okay. Um, okay, I think, let's see, do we have other things? I think we already talked about the CSS step release. We'll discuss that in next CSS community sync. And are there anything else folks want to discuss today?
Yeah, I had a request to make.
Oh, please.
Yeah, so I pasted a query link which I posted in SIG storage group, and this is related to the PRs that were merged in GCP file storage and GCP persistent disk projects. I raised this query to understand or to get the information like what is the time period or timeliness of when the release tags will be created. So that is required for me to rebase my downstream and with those PRs which were merged upstream. And I was looking at the README of these two projects, and the link over there was redirecting to Google Organization's private link. So if anybody could help me, or if there is another forum for GCP projects where I could post the same and get some answers, it would be of help for me.
Okay, so Assad?
Yeah, if you message on Slack or just email me, I can point you to the right person.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Just this query ticket, should I, or the detailed description, like what I mean?
Oh, it's
He
on
said-
Kubernetes 6 storage. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
he said
reply to
no
that.
ones.
Yeah, perfect.
All right.
I'll find it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're on the top of the hour. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.